Wait, what was that? What happened? It all happened so fast. Let's show it again. I performed a reverse Sully. On January 15th, 2009, after losing both engines to birds, he brilliantly landed his plane in the Hudson River. The NTSB described it as the most successful ditching in aviation history. I landed on the ground rather than in the river. And where Sully didn't have anything to do with his incident, I did everything wrong. Twice. Stick with me, because as a new aviator drone pilot, I want you to learn from my mistakes. Chelsea Sully Sullenberger is beyond a hero to me. But because I'm a fan, I know that he doesn't think of himself as a hero. He thinks of himself as a responsible aviator. He truly believes that his heroic act was because he did his homework. I understand that my stakes were completely different. But if you're a new drone pilot, I want you to understand how aviators think. This all started on a 2-day trip to San Antonio. For those of you who haven't been, there's a river walk that runs through 5 miles of downtown San Antonio, past restaurants, hotels, and shops. It's decorated in the winter, and when I arrived, they were having the Day of the Dead parade. I saw the floats coming down the river, and I said to myself, I have to shoot this river tomorrow. So I got up at 7 a.m. I took my drone down to the path next to the hotel. I crossed to the other side on a pedestrian bridge where there was a good section of sidewalk to take off from. I ran my Before You Fly app, attached my phone to the transmitter, put my drone down on the sidewalk, turned it on, did my calibration, and took off. I knew I was in a rush, so I tried to purposefully slow myself down, but I missed something. I knew I missed something because as soon as my drone reached its hovering altitude of about 4 feet, it started to wander off in the direction of the river. I think I was looking down at my controller, starting my video, when this happened. I tried to regain control. It took off in the direction of the pedestrian bridge. This is where I did several things right in short order. With the control that I had, I rose above the pedestrian bridge because I didn't want to hit the bridge and fall into the water. I started heading back towards the shore because as soon as it was out of my sight, I knew I had to land it. And luckily, it hit the ground after crashing into a tree. What did I do wrong? When I looked down at my phone, it told me that my GPS didn't have enough signals. I honestly don't remember if I checked my GPS, so I took my drone over to a ledge, looked it over for damage. Everything looked fine. The props had survived with just minor scratches, so I decided to test it. I held down my drone, I unlocked the props, and I pressed the takeoff button while holding it down. Everything looked good. I did the same dumb thing. I put down my drone, started it up, and it took off over the river. This time, I was able to coax it back to shore and it crashed before reaching the pedestrian bridge. But it looked like it was going to go into the water. So I ran towards it. I stopped right just short of the edge, relieved that it fell on the shore instead of inside the water. And when I looked down at my transmitter, my phone was gone. It was at the bottom of the river. My phone was looking right back up at me, still lit. What did I do wrong? First off, I shouldn't have launched that close to the water. Like any aviator, you should launch from a place that allows you to abort. If I had more land, then I would have put the drone down right away. As it was, by the time it had gone out of control, it was already over the water. There's no way that I would have been able to land it right then. Secondly, I didn't use a checkoff list. I'm pretty sure that I performed a geomagnetic calibration, but I can't say for sure that I checked for GPS signals. And if I had a checkoff list, then I'd at least be able to say that that wasn't my problem. It's possible that the transmitter told me that it didn't have enough GPS signals, but it was confused by all the nearby buildings. If you've ever driven in an urban environment and you've seen your location jump all over the place on your GPS, you know what I mean. GPS bounces off of steel buildings and it confuses your GPS. It gets what's known as multipath signals. Sometimes, if this happens, your drone literally doesn't know where it is. It thinks that home base might be 5 feet over a river. I'm just glad I didn't hit the return to home button because then my drone would have just promptly landed itself right there in the river. Third, I'm not sure if I power recycled my drone after that first bad takeoff. I should have. That should have been the first thing that I should have done. Is the second that I realized that my drone wasn't working, I should have shut it down and gone through the entire startup procedure all over again. What did I do right? I dodged the bridge. It didn't just take off. My original instinct was to gain altitude, but I might not have ever seen my drone again. It might have landed somewhere where it could have injured someone. I didn't press the return to home button because at that point in time, my drone thought that home was somewhere hovering right above a river. If I would have hit the return to home button, it probably would have just gently landed right into the river and just sank down into oblivion. I crashed my drone on purpose. The coda to this story is that I did make a checkoff list, and I use it every single time now. I'm going to make a separate video about creating your own checkoff list. You probably want to know what I did about my phone that was sitting at the bottom of the river. It was still lit, looking up at me, so I jumped in. I took several dives in the water in order to find it, but about 5 minutes later, I came out of the water soaking wet, and I walked into the hotel lobby making squishy sounds as I walked towards the elevator. There's one other kind of funny postscript to this story. Beginning Sunday, January 23rd, 2022, San Antonio is going to do their annual cleanup of the river. They shut down and drain various sections of the river, and then they go ahead and clean it out. Every year, they find all kinds of stuff, everything from furniture, silverware, even rings. I'll tell you what they won't find this year. They're not going to find my drone, and they're not going to find my phone. Fly safe, everyone.